You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening, everyone. Representatives and attendants. Meeting.
Can't hear you.
The March 13th meeting of the RTM is called to order at 8 p.m. We'll rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Senator Toohill, will call the roll.
Representative Adams.
Present.
Representative Edelman.
Here.
Representative Alphone.
Here.
Representative Amore.
Here.
Representative Anderson.
Here.
Representative Black.
Here.
Representative Bonenberger.
Here.
Representative Brooks.
Sir, yes, sir.
Representative Dayhill.
Here.
Representative Everson.
Here.
Representative Greenberg.
Here.
Representative Hartwell.
Here.
Representative Henschel.
Here.
Representative Hines.
Here.
Representative Ingraham.
Here.
Representative Keefe. Absent. Representative Leach.
Here.
Representative Larson.
I am present.
Representative Lafredo.
Here.
Representative Maresca.
Here.
Representative McCall.
Present.
Representative McCormick.
Here.
Representative Newpayne.
Here.
Representative Papaluzio. Absent. Representative Sharkey.
Here.
Representative Shrestha.
Here.
Representative Sumro.
Here.
Representative Toohill. Here. Representative Verderam.
Here.
Representative Waterman.
Here.
And the ex officios, I see First Selectman Cosgrove. Town Clerk Arpin. There is a quorum, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Toohill.
You're welcome.
The next item is approval of minutes of the February 14th meeting and the February 29th meetings of the RTM. We'll take those separately. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the February 14th meeting? So, Representative Henschel, a second?
Second.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, call for a voice vote, please, on this, to approval of the February 14th meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? None? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the reading of the February 29th meeting, the approval of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, and a second over here? Will we get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Oh, any additions or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Okay, item number 4, receipt of communications, reports of committees and citizens petitions. I have received 2 pieces of correspondence. The first is dated February 16th from Selectman Cosgrove, and I will read this brief correspondence. I respectfully request the RTM consider establishing a harbor management commission pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 22A-113K. Proper stewardship of Branford's navigable waterways is instrumental in order to maintain the economic, environmental, and recreational vitality of these valuable natural resources. Harbor Master Vincenzo Supa and I look forward to the opportunity to discuss the merits of a harbor management commission. Please place this item on the next agenda of the RTM for legislative approval. Thank you for your consideration. There's a lengthy piece attached to this, but this will be referred to R&O for consideration prior to the next meeting. And the second piece of correspondence is also from Selectman Cosgrove, for Selectman Cosgrove, and it's dated February 27th, 2024. At the Board of Selectmen's meeting held on February 21st, 2024, the board unanimously approved a second amendment to a lease between the Town of Branford and the Stony Creek Quarry Workers Celebration Museum. The second amendment extends the term of the lease until 2043 and allows 2 successful renewal terms, each for a renewal of 10 years. All other terms and conditions remain in full force and effect. Attached, please find copies of the proposed second amendment to the lease. Amendment to lease approved in 2012 to allow use of the first floor and basement areas and the original lease agreement. Please place this item on the next agenda for the RTM for legislative approval. Thank you for your consideration. Again, there are lengthy documents attached. This will be referred to admin services for consideration prior to the next full RTM meeting. Okay, moving on. We are moving to item 5. Tonight's meeting is tonight's action on item 5 is to consider and, if appropriate, approve the following bonding resolution. Resolved that the resolution entitled "A Resolution Amending Resolution Authorizing an Appropriation of $325,000 for the Police Headquarters Renovation Project and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds of the town and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $325,000, therefore, to increase the scope of the project and increase the appropriation and bond authorization therein by an additional $20 million, be adopted and recommended for adoption by the representative town meeting." Before we move on, is there a motion to waive the reading of this entitled resolution and incorporate its full text into the minutes of the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay, is there any discussion on this motion? So those in favor of waiving the reading of the full resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, so this resolution was heard by 2 committees, Ways and Means and Public Services. I'll leave it to which committee is going to go first to give their committee report. Representative Bonenberger.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Public Services met on March 7th. Everyone was in attendance, and the vote was unanimous to pass this along. There was a really robust discussion that lasted, I think, about 2.5 hours. A lot of great questions were brought up, and I think my feeling was, after good questions by the RTM, citizens, and a great presentation, both by the police, the architect, and the constructor, the builders, construction company, that this is something that the town can be proud to do. So I put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you, Representative Bonenberger. And then we'll have a report from the other committees, as this was held jointly with Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Ways and Means Committee was also part of that special meeting. All 5 of the members were present. I'd like to echo the sentiments of Mr. Bonenberger that presentations by the Police Commission, the police, by the architect were extraordinarily detailed and very, very informative. We can talk more about that later, but the vote in the Ways and Means Committee was also unanimous, 5-0.
So are those both put in the form of a motion, both reports?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we have 2 committee reports as motions on the floor. I'd like to open it up for discussion and questions. Any questions or comments by members of the RTM? Representative Brooks.
I'm going to rise in support to this funding. And, you know, honestly, for me to be against this would be hypocritical as I go back to the vote to fund the building of this building and how well that turned out. So I'm sure that doing this will be in the same situation in a matter of, you know, a year or so. And I look forward, you know, based on the history of that vote that I did, whenever that was, 14 years ago, I look forward to the constructive criticism that I received from my Republican colleagues, my Republican friends, and even some online newspapers. So I'm looking forward to that same constructive criticism for a yes vote on this. Thank you.
Okay, Representative Edelman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I also want to state that how thorough and clearly during the discussion the details of the sewer and the presenters and the people that spoke should be clearly complimented for the detailed reporting that they gave. Just want to touch on one point. There was an issue that came up, and that was the need to verify the existence of and the proper functioning of footing drains that were said to have been installed during the original construction. This is vitally important because without functioning footing drains, the current basement water issues that have been so discussed in the building would clearly be impacted. So it's my understanding, and I think that it's understood, that the building commissioner will investigate the question, and if in fact the footing drains do not appear to be present and or functioning, they will add those to the scope of the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Edelman. Are there anybody else on the RTM with a question or comments? Representative Hartwell.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I want to say that going into that meeting, I was very skeptical actually of this project. I had done the tour. I'd gone to the basement. The basement obviously is a mess. It should have been fixed many, many years ago. I know that there was an attempt to fix it and that the water continued to come through from somewhere. And one of the first things that I heard in the presentation the other night was that the fix that is forecasted to be done is 100% guaranteed. And that the floor that is going to be put in place in the renovation is guaranteed to be water not permeable, but the other way around. And that we will have in fact a 20-year guarantee from the maker of the floor that is in fact the case, and that if something happens where water is coming up from below, that we will in fact be covered by that, and that this will not cost the town more money going forward. I actually thought going into that meeting that we were situated over a stream. I had heard that, I'd never seen that in any particular documents, but that's what I had been led to believe, and I made that comment in the meeting, and I was corrected in the meeting and was told that in fact when this was done originally that it was very dry underneath, and maybe that's why they made the decision to do the construction in the way that they did. Clearly something didn't work. Perhaps it has to do with the point that Representative Edelman just raised around the footings and drainage around the footings. So one way or the other, we're going to be putting $20 million into a building which has been flawed. I don't think anyone would disagree that the current building is flawed. And if you go down into the basement there, you'll see that for yourself. That water has come in, there's mold. It's not a good situation. But we're being told, and we are going to accept tonight and vote for the fact that this is going to be fixed. So that's to the good. And this project, I voted for it in the committee. I'm going to vote for it again tonight. The second point that I wanted to raise from a financial point of view, and I made the same point a couple of weeks ago when we had the meeting, special meeting on the fields, is that there are two questions you have to answer in this situation. The first is the project. Is this a good use of money? Is this something that we want to do? And I think that the answer after the meeting we had the other evening is yes, this is something we want to do. This is a good place for the town to put its money. The question is, how do you pay for it? We are being asked tonight, and we're going to approve a bonding resolution that covers the entire expenditure. We're always hoping, of course, that when we make a resolution like this, that the actual cost is going to come in at a lesser expense. We have no control over that. But what we might have some control over is how much we actually bond and whether all of the items in there need to be bonded as opposed to being simply paid for. So we get back to an original principle in this kind of situation is you match the funding to the life of the project. So anything like this building that's going to be in place for 20 or 30 years, which is what we've been told and which we're going to accept, should be bonded, because we shouldn't pay for it today when people down the road, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, are going to be enjoying the benefits. They should participate in paying for it. That's why you bond it. Absolutely, this is a normal thing to do. There might, however, be some pieces of the project which have a shorter lifespan than the 20 years or the 30 years that we expect that building to be in place, and which might thereby qualify for shorter term funding, i.e. write the check. So if we were going to do a new computer system for someplace where computers have a 5-year life, you wouldn't bond that. You would simply pay for it. I haven't looked at the project in detail. I'm not asking to identify tonight anything that might be paid for immediately by writing a check. But we have the funds available, and if those pieces are there, I think we should do that rather than lump the entire amount and bond for the future. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Hartwell. Other comments or questions by the RTM? Representative Epps.
Thank you. One of the points I just want to make is that we have been assured that this is going to be a 20-year plus solution at about 70% of the cost of new construction. So it is a worthwhile investment to make. I think for the benefit of the public, if through you, Madam Moderator, I could ask the police chief or the deputy chief to simply inform the public as to how your operation will be done, because your building will be under construction once we vote in favor, and I think it would be helpful for the public to hear what the plan is for the police to continue doing the fine work that they do in our town.
So I'm Deputy Chief John Alves.
Just come up to the microphone.
Deputy Chief John Alves, good to see everyone again this evening. So our plan is to vacate the building during construction and move our patrol division to Company 1, which is located in the back of the fire department here. We've discussed this plan with Fire Chief Mahoney, have his blessings. That building was initially built as a volunteer company, so it has a lot of the resources and the things that we need to work out of being a newer building. So there's security cameras there already. There's card readers for officers to swipe in and out of the building, so it's secure. There's bathroom facility there, networking that we need. So our plan is to move our patrol division to work out of that back building, Company 1, and our administrative staff will be in this room. So we've had some discussions there. That will mean town meetings will have to move to the community center, which we have the space there. It's my understanding that shouldn't be a problem. Another nice new facility that the town has. So our administrative staff will use this room. And again, it's important just to note that, most of our work is done on the road. So our officers are out, they're on the road, they're in patrol, they work in police cars. They can do 95% of their job on the road. They have computers and laptops in their cars. Most of our reporting is done out of the vehicles. So the police cars are their offices, and that's where they're comfortable. So we're not afraid that this shouldn't be a heavy lift for us. And it'll make the project go smoother, quicker, and it'll be more cost effective by us vacating 33 Laurel Street. The public will still go there for their needs, or we will, again, continue to respond to the public as we do now. There'll be a trailer outside at certain points in the project when the public can't safely enter the building. So if there are interviews taking place there, that may be done in a trailer on the property at 33 Laurel Street, and our dispatchers will still dispatch from 33 Laurel Street as well. That's our plan moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Alves before he escapes to the back table? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, having heard from the RTM sufficiently, are there any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to get my notes? To approve this resolution?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Madam Moderator, there are two motions to approve to the committee reports already.
Yeah.
Two separate,
Right,
okay, we don't need another one. That's
We
right.
don't
Okay.
need another motion.
Okay. All right, well, we do need a roll call vote. Oh, yes.
Representative Adams.
Approved.
Representative Edelman. Representative Alphone.
Yes.
Representative Anderson.
Yes.
Representative Black.
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger.
Aye.
Representative Brooks.
Yes.
Representative Dayhill.
Yes.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
Yes.
Representative Hartwell.
Yes.
Representative Henschel.
Yes.
Representative Hines.
Yes.
Representative Ingraham.
Yes.
Representative Leach.
Yes.
Representative Larson.
Yes.
Representative Lafredo.
Yes.
Representative Maresca.
Yes.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Newpayne.
Yes.
Representative Sharkey.
Yes.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes.
Representative Sumro.
Yes.
Representative Toohill votes yes. Representative Verderam.
Yes.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
27 to nothing, Madam Moderator.
The resolution is adopted. And just to note that the full text of the resolution, it will remain available on the town website under the agenda for tonight. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, let's move on to item 6. Item 6, to consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfer request from the assessor for FY 2024 from regular wages and salaries, $25,300, to seasonal and part-time help for the same amount of $25,300. Representative Edelman, would you report on this, please?
Certainly, thank you, Madam Moderator. This transfer is to cover the cost of the current part-time employee for the office for filling in for the full-time employee who is expected to have a 6-week leave of absence, as well as to pay for the part-time seasonal individual's regular salary. The matter was heard by Admin Services Committee on March 5th of this year and passed unanimously by a vote of 6 to 0. I put that in the form of a motion.
Is there any discussion on the motion or the transfer? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item 7, I'm told that The committee heard these resolutions, these three resolutions together for transfers. Representative Hartwell, do you just want to sum up that, not the outcomes, but the, just that, how you did it, so it can...
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator.
Yes.
Yes, these motions were lumped into one because they were all dealing with the same thing, which was approving payments to employees as per contracts which had been previously passed.
Okay.
And so there were a variety of these across various bargaining units. The Director of Human Resources was there to present to us.
Okay.
And at the end, all of them were put into one motion and were passed unanimously.
Oh, okay. I will, I'm going to read this, and these refers to items 7, 8, 7 and 8, all of the resolutions for transfers. Here it goes. From item 7, from contingency, $109,566. Okay, sorry. To consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfer request and resolutions from the Director of Human Resources for FY24 pursuant to the RTM approved collective bargaining agreement for town hall employees, UPSEU local number 405, union contract as follows. From contingency, $106,566 to 109, sorry. Gotta get a bigger, better glasses. Regular wages and salaries in finance, $8,701. Salaries for the assessor, $10,813. Wages and salaries, tax collector, $8,128. Town clerk, $8,228. Planning and zoning, $2,585. Nothing for inland wetlands. Police, $4,823. Fire, $2,921. Public Works, $2,954. Solid Waste, $10,754. Engineering, $20,921. Overtime for the assessor, $659. Overtime for the tax collector, $737. Expanded hours for the town clerk, $15. Planning and zoning, overtime for planning and zoning, $213. Retroactive wages for finance, $4,296. Retroactive wages for the assessor, $4,323. Retroactive wages for the tax collector, $5,114. Retroactive wages for the town clerk, $1,653. Retroactive for planning and zoning, $1,343. Retroactive for inland wetlands, $1,307. Retroactive for the police, $2,135. Retroactive for fire, $1,462. And retroactive wages for engineering, $1,065. Transfer out to the sewer utility fund, $4,416 for a total of $109,566. Resolved that the RTM authorize a fiscal 24 transfer from contingency for $109,566 to the noted accounts to fund compensation changes pursuant to the recently approved Town Hall collective bargaining agreement through June 30th, 2026. The corresponding sewer utility fund transfer in resolution. The appropriation increase would be an operating transfer in for $4,416 and an appropriation increase to regular wages and salaries for $2,954 and retroactive wages for $1,462 for a total of $4,416. Resolved that the RTM authorizes a transfer out of $4,416 to the sewer utility fund to fund salary changes pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement for the town hall union. This transfer will increase the fiscal year 24 budget in the sewer utility fund from $4,813,105 to $4,817,521. Okay, that's item number 7. Number 8, to consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfer request and resolution from the Director of Human Resources for fiscal '24 pursuant to the RTM approved collective bargaining agreement for the Town of Branford employees UPSEU union contract as follows. The general fund transfer for Branford employees agreement from contingency, $104,695. 2, regular wages for planning and zoning, $7,242. Wages for information technology, $8,356. Wages for human resources, $3,631. Regular wages for police, $3,287. For the building department, $4,080. Regular wages for engineering, $8,190. Regular wages for the senior center, $13,287. Regular wages and salaries for the Will B. Wallace, $2,143. Overtime for planning and zoning, $213. Overtime for information technology, $500. Overtime for human resources, $250. Retroactive wages for planning and zoning, $3,224. Retroactive for information technology, $3,742. Retroactive wages for human resources, $587. Retroactive wages for the police, $63. Retroactive wages for the building department, $2,026. Retroactive wages for engineering, $4,060. Retroactive wages for the senior center, $2,713. Retroactive wages for the Willoughby Wallace, $1,072. A transfer out for the Animal Control Fund, $13,503. Transfer out for Sewer Utility Fund, $6,859. And a transfer out to for the Human Services Fund, $15,697, totaling $104,695. Resolved that the RTM authorizes a transfer from contingency for $104,695 to the noted accounts to fund compensation changes pursuant to the recently approved Town of Branford Employees Collective Bargaining Unit through June 30th, 2026. Corresponding Animal Control Fund transfer and resolution, an appropriation increase for an operating transfer in for $13,503, and an appropriation increase to regular wages and salaries for $9,480, overtime for $299, retroactive wages for $3,724 for a total of $13,503. Resolved that the RTM authorizes a transfer out of $13,503 to the Animal Control Fund to fund salary changes pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement for the Town of Branford Employees Union. This transfer will increase the fiscal year '24 budget in the Animal Control Fund from $464,421 to $477,924. And the corresponding Sewer Utility Fund transfer and resolution, an appropriation increase, the operating transfer in is $6,859, and an appropriation increase for regular wages and salaries for $4,606, zero for overtime, $2,253 for retroactive wages, and accrued payroll expenses, zero for a total of $6,859. Resolved that the RTM authorizes a transfer out of $6,859 to the Sewer Utility Fund to fund salary changes pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement for the Town of Branford Employees Union. This transfer will increase the fiscal '24 budget in the Sewer Utility Fund from $4,817,521 to $4,824,380. Corresponding Human Services Fund transfer and resolution, an appropriation increase, operating transfer in for $15,697, and an appropriation increase for regular wages and salaries of $10,498, and for retroactive wages, $5,199, for a total of $15,697. Resolved that the RTM authorizes a transfer out of $15,697 to the Human Services Fund to fund salary changes pursuant to the collective bargaining agreement for the Town of Branford Employees Union. This transfer will increase the fiscal '24 budget in the Human Services Fund from $1,939,499 to $1,955,196. There. Done.
Should I say that again?
Madam Moderator, I'll move that we hear both these items at the same time, even though that was done in committee. I believe we have to do it
Yes,
on the floor.
okay.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
If I may, I believe I heard in item number 8, under resolve, that the amount went from $4,817,521. I believe you said to 4,000 instead of $4 million.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
$824, and I mean, $824,380. So I just wanted to mention.
Okay, that will correct the record, thank you. Okay. Representative Hartwell? Oh, did we vote? I'm sorry. No. All in favor of the motion to hear these items together as we did in committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The motion carries. Representative Hartwell, will you give your report, the report?
So the last item on that particular set is consider and if appropriate approve the following transfer request from the Director of Human Resources for professional development, $400 out, and to travel for $400. And that actually goes.
No, we're
No,
on-
no, no.
So we're still on 7 and 8.
We're still on 7 and 8.
You actually already reported, but we need to hear your report again. You said that they were approved, so you need to say that again.
The other two were.
And put it in a form of a motion.
Put it in the form of a motion.
Yes, because you just stated it before. You didn't put it in the form of a motion as the committee report.
Okay, so
Okay.
the committee met and approved the early two for 5-0. I put that in a motion to be approved by the committee. Is that right?
Thank you. We have heard the motion out of the committee report. Is there any discussion? Okay, this does not need a separate motion, so all in favor of approving the transfers as read and approved in committee, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Toohill. Okay. Number 9, item number 9, to consider and if appropriate approve the following transfer request from the Director of Human Resources for fiscal '24 from professional development for $400 to travel for $400. I believe this was heard by Administrative Services.
Thank you again, Madam Moderator.
Representative Edelman.
This is a simple request to transfer the $400 made by the Director of Human Resources from the account you just identified to the travel account to cover the mileage reimbursement costs for staff members who did in-state and out-of-state travel to attend local development programs and counsel for those programs.
Okay. Is that
I'm so sorry. This matter was heard by Admin Services again on 3/5/24 and unanimously passed by a vote of 6 to 0.
okay?
And I make that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we have a committee report as a motion. Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of this transfer, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, Mr. Toohill.
Thank you.
Okay, to consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfer request from the Registrar of Voters.
Madam Moderator.
Oh, sorry.
Madam Moderator, Representative Black, just let the, through you to the clerk, let the records reflect that I'm recused.
That you've
myself.
recused. Yes, thank you very much. Sorry, I missed your hand. Okay. To consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfer request from the Registrar of Voters for fiscal '24 from contingency, $72,600, to part-time clerical support, $5,000, election workers, $52,600, deputy registrars, $5,000, overtime, $1,100, seasonal and part-time help, $2,000. Moving and storage, $1,000. Purchased services repairs, $1,600. Postage, $2,000. Meal supplies, $2,000. And travel, $300, for a total of $72,600. Again, this was heard by Ways and Means, so Representative Hartwell, could you raise for the report?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Much of this was in fact because when the budget was done last year, there was not any provision in the budget for primaries, and there was a Republican primary in the fall having to do with the RTM. And also, we did not know, RTM did not know at the time that the budget was passed last year, how many days of, or whether in fact would be early voting. There is going to be 4 days of early voting in front of the presidential primary. There's going to be more days of early voting, up to 2 weeks, I think, before the general election. Those things were not covered in the budget prior, and so those things need to be taken care of now. So we heard this presentation. As you saw, Representative Black recused himself during that consideration because he is in fact the deputy registrar on the Republican side. We had the registrar from the Democratic side do the presentation. We heard the presentation. We agreed to it on a 4-0 vote. And I make that in the form of a resolution.
Motion.
Motion.
Okay.
I'll get it sooner or later.
The report is heard in the form of a motion. Okay, are there any comments or discussion on the part of the RTM regarding this transfer for the registrar of voters?
Madam Moderator?
Yes.
Just a point of clarification. We normally don't budget for primaries. We haven't in the past. It's just like snow removal because we never know what the state is going to mandate. I just want to make the public aware of that.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Are there, hearing no other questions or comments? All those in favor of this transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And of course, one abstention, one recusal.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, item 11. We will hear these separately. To consider and if appropriate, approve an amendment to the Town Code, Chapter 17, Cosgrove Animal Shelter Commission, Section 17-2, membership to remove the reference to the town of Branford, and that was heard by R&O, and Representative Henschel will rise for the report.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Rules and Ordinance met on February 20th. All members were present. The committee discussed the proposed amendment of Chapter 17-2, Cosgrove Animal Shelter Commission membership. The existing ordinance was established when the town of Branford was a partner in the Cosgrove Animal Shelter, and it allowed the Board of Selectmen to appoint one member of the commission from North Branford rather than a Branford resident. The proposed revision stipulates that one member of the commission, at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen, may be a non-resident of the town. That was the change that was made. And I think you've all been provided in the agenda with a copy of the actual amendment. The reason that we left this allowing one non-resident to be appointed was the possibility, number one, that in the future the animal shelter may in fact enter into a partnership with another town or North Branford again, and there might be an out of Branford large donor that for reasons might be appropriate to be a member of the commission. So we left the flexibility in the revised ordinance. Rules and Ordinance Committee voted unanimously to propose this resolution, or this revision. Attorney Yanukovych has reviewed the changes, and I ask that the full RTM approve this amendment in the form of a motion. I put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much, Representative Henschel. Is there any discussion by the RTM on this committee report and resolution? None, hearing none, this will go for a vote. It is a change to an ordinance, so it will be a roll call vote. Representative Toohill.
Yes. Representative Adams.
Yes.
Representative Edelman.
Yes.
Representative Alphone.
Yes.
Representative Anderson.
Yes.
Representative Black.
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger.
Yes.
Representative Brooks.
Yes.
Representative Dayhill.
Yes.
Representative Everson.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
Yes.
Representative Hartwell.
Yes.
Representative Henschel.
Yes.
Representative Hines.
Yes.
Representative Ingraham.
Yes.
Representative Leach.
Yes.
Representative Larson.
Yes.
Representative Lafredo.
Yes.
Representative Maresca.
Yes.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Newpayne.
Yes.
Representative Sharkey.
Yes.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes.
Representative Sumro.
Yes.
Representative Toohill votes yes. Representative Verderame.
Yes.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
27 to nothing. Madam Moderator.
Okay, the item carries. Thank you.
Welcome.
Item 12, to consider and if appropriate, approve an amendment to the town code to change RTM Rule E 8.5, amending, altering, or suspending the rules, to suspension of the rules, to require a supermajority to suspend the rules. This was again heard by RNO, so Representative Henschel, will you rise for the report?
Thank you. Again, Rules and Ordinance met on February 20th, and all members were present. The committee discussed the proposed amendment of RTM Rule E 8.52. The existing rule addresses the temporary suspension of a rule and currently requires a majority vote of the RTM members present to suspend this rule. And I think we're all familiar when we 441 something, we're actually suspending Rule 441 to be able to hear something before it's gone to committee. The Robert's Rules, on the other hand, requires a 2/3 vote of members present to suspend rules. So this has been a conflict between those two that was actually pointed out to us in the last term. The philosophy of this change is that a suspension of rules to further the business of the RTM should approach unanimity and not be solely under the control of the majority. That was the underlying reason for proposing this change. Therefore, the proposed revision stipulates that a vote of 2/3 of the members present will be required to temporarily suspend the rules. Again, you've been provided with a copy of this revision in the agenda. The R&O committee voted unanimously to approve this revision. Attorney Anaskovich has reviewed the changes. And I ask that the RTM approve the amendment in the form of a motion, put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you, Representative Henschel. I'll open this on the floor to questions or comments from the RTM.
I have one.
Representative Brooks.
I just want to be clear. I mean, what you said was really clear, so I get that. But like, if to suspend a rule or alter a rule has to be 2/3 majority, in theory, for this to pass, or once this passes, the next two amendments would have to be 2/3 vote to pass it. Am I understanding that correctly?
I will accept comments from the floor, but I don't think so, because I think it takes a period of, what is it, a week or so before these are in fact.
15 days.
No, that's not true.
What is true? How does it work, Pete?
Thank you, Madam Moderator, through you to Representative Henschel and the floor. When it comes to bonding issues over $50,000 and when it comes to ordinance changes, those are essentially provisionally passed by us, and they're subject to a referendum. And anybody who's unhappy with that bonding or with the ordinance has, I believe it's 15 days to come up with something like 15% of the registered voters. Last I checked, something like 3,000 signatures that you'd have to get in 3 weeks. So you've got to be ready and going and know where you're going to go, but that's written into our charter. These are not ordinances. These are rule changes, so they'll become effective immediately. And I'm not sure, but one of these is essentially we talked about two things at the committee: to suspend the rules and then to amend them. So
This is to suspend the rules.
This is to suspend the rules.
This will not apply to our next action.
As Representative Brooks knows, at the committee, I was certainly in favor of this. I was a little hesitant about the other. And there is a distinction, because when you're suspending the rule, you're doing it right on the floor without thinking about it, without it going to committee necessarily. And, a bare majority could run roughshod over the rules and push something through. Whereas amending the rules is hopefully a more deliberative process, where it would be going to committee and you'd have at least a month to work it out. In the end, by the way, I did cave, but after some discussion. But there is a distinction.
Thank you. And again, to Representative Brooks, this particular item will not affect, in our next vote, we don't need 2/3, because this is just the suspension part.
So
the next part,
after that.
it'll be.
And I have one more question. Follow-up question.
Follow-up question, Representative Brooks, and then Representative Bonenberger.
Just so I know as well, because sometimes we all get in a bit of a heated conversation, right? That can go on quite some time. And then there comes a point where somebody wants to call the question. Will that be included in these as a supermajority?
Through you, Madam Moderator, I don't
Yes,
think that's
Representative Brooks.
necessarily affected here. I'd have to consult Robert's rules to see what the rule on moving the question is. But this does not affect, moving the question is part of our rules, if only through Robert's rules, which are incorporated into our rules, and I think also mentioned in the charter. I'm not sure, I can check that, but it's already, a motion to move the question is already in the rules, and I can't remember if it's 2/3, it may be, it may be not, but this doesn't directly affect that. But we might, suspend that rule or something. We could have voted previously to suspend the rule to require a 2/3 vote to move the question. Now we can't if it is required.
According to my, I'm not supposed to talk, never mind.
Who's on first, who's on second? I mean, this is
Okay.
inside baseball.
Representative Bonenberger.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Yeah, I would ask that what the committee decided, and I believe is written in the updated rules or the proposed rules, is specifically a 2/3 supermajority, because a supermajority is more than a majority, more than a simple majority. It could be 3/4, it could be whatever. So I would just ask that to require a 2/3 supermajority be added to both point 12 and point 13, so that's clear to everybody else. Thank you.
I believe the actual wording just stipulates 2/3. It doesn't refer to supermajority. I just used that term
I have it,
earlier.
yeah, I have it here. It
So-
does not say supermajority.
It's 2/3, a 2/3
Yes.
vote of the members present.
Yeah.
In the actual amendment.
I know, in that, I'm just saying, this is what's before us.
Okay,
So
so
that's what's in the rules.
So we need to make a motion then to amend what we are considering prior to.
No,
no,
it's in there.
no.
I'm just
We
saying
can
for
reflect that,
simplicity's sake.
But it's
reflect
not
it in the
reflected
minutes.
in the agenda.
We can reflect it in the minutes.
agenda, which
Yeah.
is published. Thank you.
We can reflect that change in the minutes, I believe. Okay.
Gracias.
All right,
So again, I made that in the form of motion.
it's in the form of a motion, okay. Any other discussion or questions from members of the RTM? Okay. Again, Mr. Toohill, hearing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Representative Adams?
Yes.
Representative Edelman?
Yes.
Representative Alphone?
Yes.
Representative Anderson?
Yes.
Representative Black?
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger?
Yes.
Representative Brooks?
Yes.
Representative Dayhill?
Yes.
Representative Everson?
Yes.
Representative Greenberg?
Yes.
Representative Hartwell? Representative Henschel?
Yes.
Representative Hines?
Yes.
Representative Ingraham?
Yes.
Representative Leach?
Yes.
Representative Larson?
Yes.
Representative Lafredo?
Yes.
Representative Maresca?
Yes.
Representative McCall?
Yes.
Representative McCormick?
Yes.
Representative Newpayne?
Yes.
Representative Sharkey?
Yes.
Representative Shrestha?
Yes.
Representative Sumro?
Yes.
Representative Toohill votes yes. Representative Verderame?
Yes.
Representative Waterman?
Yes.
27 to nothing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Toohill.
You're welcome.
Okay, item 13, to consider and if appropriate, approve an amendment to the town code to change RTM Rule E 8.5, amending, altering, or suspending the rules. 1, alteration or amendment of the rules to require a supermajority to alter or attempt or amend the rules. Again, this was heard by R&O, and Mr. Henschel, will you rise for the report?
Great, thank you, Madam Moderator. Again, R&O met on February 20th. All members were present. The committee discussed the proposed amendment of RTM Rule E 8.5, sentence number 2. Sentence number 2 is addressing just the alteration or amendment, not the suspension. The suspension is sentence number 1, so this is altering sentence number 2. The existing rule addresses the permanent alteration or amendment of a rule and requires only a majority vote of the RTM members present for that action. Again, Robert's rules, on the other hand, requires a 2/3 vote of members present to alter or amend rules. Similar to the previous change, the philosophy is that our rules are for the benefit of the RTM at large, and if the majority party can permanently alter our rules, then there is virtually no protection for the minority. Alteration or amendment of the rules should not be solely under the control of the majority. That was the philosophy behind making this change. Therefore, the proposed revision stipulates that a vote of 2/3 of the members at present will be required to permanently alter or amend the rules. You've been provided with a copy of this in your agenda. The Rules and Ordinance Committee voted unanimously to approve this provision after Representative Black caved. and I hope he will continue to do so. Again, the Attorney Aniskovic has reviewed the changes with no negative comments, so that I asked the RTM to approve this amendment, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there discussion, questions, or comments from members of the RTM? Representative Brooks?
Just to clarify, through you or anybody here, these are just the rules of how we conduct our business, not the rules of the town. Is that correct?
Correct.
Then I'm good.
Thank you, Representative Brooks.
That is correct, Representative Brooks.
Oh, okay. Are there other questions or comments for Representative Henschel or anything to be brought up? No? Okay, hearing none. Again, this is a rule change, so we go to a roll call vote.
Representative Adams?
Yes.
Representative Edelman?
Yes.
Representative Alphone?
Yes.
Representative Anderson?
Yes.
Representative Black?
Yes.
Representative Bonenberger?
Yes.
Representative Brooks?
Yes.
Representative Dayhill?
Yes.
Representative Everson?
Yes.
Representative Greenberg?
Yes.
Representative Hartwell?
Yes.
Representative Henschel?
Yes.
Representative Hines?
Yes.
Representative Ingraham?
Yes.
Representative Leach?
Yes.
Representative Larson?
Yes.
Representative Lafredo.
Yes.
Representative Maresca.
Yes.
Representative McCall.
Yes.
Representative McCormick.
Yes.
Representative Newpayne.
Yes.
Representative Sharkey.
Yes.
Representative Shrestha.
Yes.
Representative Sumro.
Yes.
Representative Toohill votes yes. Representative Verderame.
Yes.
Representative Waterman.
Yes.
27 to nothing.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Toohill.
You're welcome.
Item 14 is actually also item 15. It appears that there was a hiccup, and this was split into two, but the first sentence is the same as 15, and the entire and correct agenda item is number 15, so I will read that one. To consider and if appropriate, approve an amendment to the Town Code, RTM Rules, Rule 4.5, Committee Responsibilities General, to clarify and coordinate long-standing references to reports and more recent requirements for meeting minutes. Again, this was referred to Rules and Ordinances. Representative Henschel.
Again, thank you, Madam Moderator. And again, the RNO met on this issue on February 20th. All members were present. The committee discussed the proposed amendment of A 236-Town Meeting Rules, E Rule 4.5 Committee Reports. Just to clarify, the reason for this was that prior to, I don't know, there was 4 or 5 years ago, when we made a rule change to require committees to submit meeting minutes, our rules required various reports to be delivered by the committees. Some of these, it was inferred, might be verbally, and some were specifically should have been in writing and should have been submitted to the RTM clerk. At a later date, as I said, we on the RTM voted to add a requirement for meeting minutes. Those meeting minutes get delivered to the town clerk. So there basically was a bit of lack of coordination between these requirements in the current rules. And in fact, we have not been following the rules correctly over the years. So this was an effort basically to find coordination between those two requirements. So a proposed language was discussed and submitted in our committee meeting. Representative Black took a look at it and thought that there might be a different way of doing it and writing it up, and agreed to spend the time before our next RNO meeting to propose an alternative so that we could discuss both and vote on one. So in short, Rules and Ordinance unanimously voted to re-refer this item, or recommend re-referral of this item.
Thank you very much, Representative Henschel. So shall we vote on whether or not this is okay to re-refer?
No,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you do?
Yes.
Okay,
Put that
there's
in the form of a motion.
a motion to re-refer this to the Rules and Ordinances. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Representative Toohill brings up a question about whether we need to have item 14 removed from the call. Yes, okay. So can we have a motion to?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? And we had a second for Representative Hartwell.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Was
Aye.
that aye? Any opposed? No. Item 14 is officially removed from the call. Okay, any other business to come before the RTM? Representative Black?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Discussion of some of our committee scheduling. It came to my attention that the schedule that we voted on for the budget meeting is not what specifically is called for in the charter under 5B. The annual budget meeting shall be held on the second Tuesday of May. And I know when we were voting on it, I checked, I said, oh, Tuesday, good, because we've done it in Wednesday in the past, but it's actually the first Tuesday in May. We don't necessarily, I know there's some heartburn amongst at least one member on this about changing it. This is the more specific time. It also would cause us to really get jammed up with some of the committee meetings. The Board of Finance won't be meeting until April 1st. So I would say that, members in your caucus at the least should discuss how you're going to work, or whether you're going to have, if we're going to keep this date, are we going to have a lot of special committee meetings? So that's my take on that.
Okay. So are you moving a change, or?
I'm in favor of a change
Okay.
to conform with the more specific requirement of the charter. I know that the town clerk has said, it was essentially a Scrivener's error, but to bring us in full conformity with the charter. For members who maybe can't make it, there's Zoom. I previously came into a budget meeting from Iceland. I know another representative was in Bermuda at that time, and we were able to vote.
Fire and ice, huh? Okay, thank you very much, Representative Black. I have some thoughts over here, Representative Henschel.
Question for you, Representative Black. Would it be appropriate if we add an agenda item on today's meeting to modify our schedule and correct that date? That would be what I would propose.
I would second, I'll make such a motion to correct the date to May 14th. The language, the annual budget meeting shall be held on the second Tuesday of May. As I say, I know some people may not be able to make it, but that's the date. We've done it that way for 60 years. And it also would jam us up as far as the committee meetings.
Should we vote to add that to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this amendment? Representative Brooks?
Can I get clarification? I mean, maybe we want to all take our time to think about this, but why is an agenda item for next month? Why can't we just have that?
We're talking about adding it to the agenda.
No, for now.
Yeah, adding the agenda tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I sit down. My bad.
Representative Henschel, did you have something else to say? No. Okay, so is there Representative Waterman?
Yeah, so thank you, Representative Black. I think my objection, because I know you were referring to me, was more that it wasn't voted and agreed upon from the RTM as moving the meeting, since we had voted on it at first to hold it on this other date. So thank you for bringing it up.
Okay, so we have two decisions to make. One is to get it onto the agenda, so let's start there. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adding this schedule change to the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we have added it to, it now will become item 15 officially, since 14 has disappeared.
Okay, Representative Black has already made a motion on that as well.
Yeah. So with that, Madam Moderator, I will move that we hold our budget meeting on May 14th, the second Tuesday, as put forth in the Charter, Section 5B.
May 14th, there's a section in the Charter on Section 5B, is that what you said?
That's correct.
Okay, so the proposed agenda item is that the annual budget meeting for this term, for this year, will be held on May 14th, 2024, in accordance with Section 5B in the town charter. Am I correct in that statement?
Yep.
Yes. That is the agenda item. It is officially now on the agenda. Is there a second, is there a motion to approve?
I thought I moved.
Yeah.
I made a motion. I don't know if it got a second or not.
Okay. Well, it is now. Okay, so, yes, is there discussion on this motion? Representative Henschel.
Representative Black, would it be appropriate to add on to your motion that in addition, this also gets recorded into a revised schedule, RTM schedule?
So I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
Okay. I will not restate the entire agenda item, but will also be recorded as an amendment to the posted town RTM schedule. Okay, Representative Brooks.
I'm in favor of this because I believe in tradition. Like, when I've been talking about the budgets, I've been just assuming it was the 14th. And to be honest with you, this is the first time I was heard our meeting was on the 7th. So I won't be here because I'll be flying home from Madagascar. So it wouldn't have affected me anyway. So I'm in, but I'll vote for it.
Okay, any other trenchant observations, comments, questions? Okay, so the item on the floor is to officially change our budget meeting date in 2024 to May 14th, which is a Tuesday. All in favor of this change, vote aye. Say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Opposed? Yes, okay, one opposition.
Yep.
Okay. The motion carries. Any other business come before the RTM tonight? Representative Brooks.
I'm doing this mostly because R&O cleared so much off their list. I want to add something. I would ask that R&O look into, and if not, look into, we shouldn't be, there's no need to be reading all of these transfers to make these motions, right? So do we need to be reading these transfers? And if so, can we maybe think about a rule that we can just highlight the agenda item to make this be a little bit more like must-see TV? That would be my request to R&O.
Madam Moderator,
Representative Everson.
did you not just say, Representative Brooks, that you were in favor of tradition? Traditionally, this body, it may not be must-see TV, but this body is operated with reading all of the information. It could be summarized, certainly, but I think R&O probably has more important business before it.
I'll withdraw my motion or my request.
Yes, Representative Anderson.
It's my understanding that these are read for people on the
Yes.
TV. They don't have the agenda in front of them. They can hear the money
Yeah.
where it's going back and forth. I understand what you're saying about consolidating, but not everybody has the agenda in front of them, and they need to hear the money.
I'm going to get a whiteboard.
I know I'm not allowed to speak, but believe me, there has been a line of 60 years of moderators who would wish that to be true, but probably should remain. Yes, Representative Black.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I mean, I would share Representative Brooks' sentiment on this, and, you've done better than some past moderators, but, still, sometimes we trip over ourselves. We say 4,000 when we mean 4 million,
Right.
et cetera. And most of these things are there in, on the website. I really wonder how many people really wonder about all these arcane budget lines, as Representative Hartwell said. Those things, it's funding something that we've already approved, and it has to go into certain accounts. I've had some of these discussions with the finance department. They break things down in such a fine-tuned way, whereas we all know, and I think for most of the taxpayers, it's really just, this is a labor cost. That's what this is. We're funding raises. Some of them are retroactive to overtime, some of them not. We waived the reading of the
Bonding resolution.
bond resolution, which is a lot more money, but certainly arcane. I don't think there's really a a need to, that's my opinion, I mean, we can discuss this further, but to make you and wade through all this stuff and us listen to it unless somebody really has a question, especially on some of these long transfers.
The July ones are usually great. Well, perhaps if R&O has nothing else to do.
Madam Moderator,
Yes. Representative Hartwell.
I'd like to agree with my friend, Mr. Black.
Okay, and I like the idea. Okay, any other business? Hearing that there is no other business. Oh, sorry.
There's a table back there.
Please identify yourself and where you live.
Good evening, my name's Jennifer Ryan. This is my neighbor Todd Petrowski, and we live in the 5th District. And we're here tonight, we have 2 questions to ask the RTM regarding the tax exempt status at Parkside Village. Our first question is, did the RTM know in March of 2022, when you voted overwhelmingly to continue the tax exemption for Parkside, that the Branford Housing Authority was giving away the project to the New Haven Housing Authority? The $30.4 million project belongs to the New Haven Housing Authority, according to the New Haven Independent article dated 2/21/24. It will be filled from the New Haven Housing Authority waitlist in perpetuity with a tax exempt status. And I have some copies of the articles if people aren't familiar. And our second question is, the first selectman made a promise in good faith to impose a pilot. That's a payment in lieu of tax on the new project, but failed to do so. Our first selectman said not imposing a pilot would be like allowing a new business, such as a car dealership, to come to town and not pay taxes. So our second question is, why was there not a pilot on the project?
Representative Black.
Through you, Madam Moderator, a pilot is not imposed. A pilot is a payment in lieu of tax that's generally comes from the state through the state legislature to help ameliorate loss of tax revenue to towns from nonprofit institutions. At one point, there may have been one for housing. I think that's gone away long ago. It did come up in some of the discussions regarding the housing authority, but it's something that would take action at the state General Assembly level for us to get a pilot for that. It's been an issue with the hospice. Our present treasurer always voted against putting them on the neighborhood assistance program, because we'd been promised when it went from Eklund to hospice that we would get pilot, and then it got cut at the state level. That's something that's always in play between cities like New Haven that have a lot of tax-free property, as opposed to how much of that money gets distributed to, say, New Haven, and how much to us or to Guilford or Madison or wherever, and for what. I think New Haven's got it sewed up because private colleges, there's a greater reimbursement rate for private colleges than there is for state property, for instance. I think it's 45% pilot for state, 30% or 45% for private colleges, and 30% for state property. So you can see that New Haven makes out better than Hartford. But that's a General Assembly level action. It's not something that the first selectman can impose. As for the housing authority taking it over, I hadn't seen it. That wasn't discussed. There was discussion that there were going to be New Haven Section 8 vouchers that were going to be applied to the project. That was one reason I voted against the the tax exemption because those rent rates are set for private properties, but, you know, I was a minority, so, but that we were aware of the Section 8 vouchers. I'm not sure that the whole property was being turned over. I don't know about that. Thank you.
You're welcome. By our rules, I cannot comment as the moderator, but there are some errors in that statement, and I don't know how to give you an answer. I don't know that other people in the room know how to give you an answer, but I think there are some errors in that.
Well,
So
through you, Madam Moderator, the first selectman was referenced in the comments. I don't know if it's appropriate for him to address the issue. We on the RTM have no say over how the Branford Housing Authority acts. That agency or group is appointed by the Board of Selectmen. We did vote on the tax exemption that was brought before us.
Yes.
That was recommended. I think part of that also had to do with litigation, but I don't know, I don't recall all the facts off the top of my head. As for the New Haven Housing Authority has not taken over. The Branford Housing Authority is still in control. I believe it had to do with the financing for the apartments because the town of Branford does not have vouchers. And part of the financing for this project that will in part benefit Branford residents had to be tied to vouchers. And the Housing Authority of New Haven has those available to them. But perhaps if the first selectman wanted to add any additional information or...
I'll try to add what I can here. I mean, as you stated, it's not only the RTM, but really the Branford Housing Authority is a separate entity from the town, the municipality. They are governed by state statute, not local ordinances. Regarding your quote,
did you see this article?
Well, you referenced, I just want to address two things, because you
Yes.
said you referenced the pilot and a quote. Again, I don't recall when that was taking place, but you were very, you presented it as if it was a direct quote. So I'm not going to question that at this time. I mean, and I'm not sure if that was taken out of context, but Representative Black is correct. The town doesn't set pilots. Pilots are payments in lieu of taxes. So I think that statement, if said, may be taken out of context. Again, the state legislature would set a pilot. If we were owed a pilot or due a pilot, certainly we'd be in favor of receiving a pilot. That's part of the issue. I think the state of Connecticut on a number of occasions, and not only just with some institutions, but also with a lot of tax exemptions that they'll pass state legislation, provide the towns a pilot and then remove that pilot. You see that personal property as well as real estate. In terms of your article that you referenced, I did read that. Now, to correct, I didn't take it as New Haven Housing, the project was now, would you say, controlled or owned by New Haven Housing Authority? I believe New Haven Housing Authority had vouchers, which Beacon, who is the developer, is utilizing those vouchers as financing as part of the financing plan for the project. So, however, when I did read the news, I was actually quite concerned as well, given the fact, although even under the current project, Parkside and Parkside 1 and 2, I know we would. There's been a lot of people saying that, oh, well, it has to be, there should be a residency requirement, meaning it's in a, but they never had a residency requirement, nor, I don't know if you can legally even say that there's a residency requirement, meaning the resident, the people who, the tenants, have to originally come from within the town of Branford. I don't think that's legal, and I don't think that was ever a requirement. However, I do, when I read the article, although, like I said, I don't think it's, I didn't take it as you represented it. However, with the fact that these vouchers, and one of my concerns was, all the time, was with the project was the original Parkside development was serving our most vulnerable population that relied heavily on a subsidy from the rental assistance program. The state of Connecticut stopped funding that program. There's obviously a push to fund these programs through other programs such as what was utilized for this one. I felt that the project moving forward was going to be a detriment to the most vulnerable population, those on the lowest end of the economic spectrum, right, in terms of income levels. That was always a concern. I think the fact that, one of the things which, I know that the current residents that are there, they said in the article, and I've been trying to get some answers on this on myself, with reaching out to members of the Housing Authority. Okay. However, a number of the current residents, they're going to utilize that so they can now move into the new building, and that will subsidize their rent. The vouchers will. One thing in the article, which I'm trying to get clarification, is it seems like that once those vouchers become available again, that they'll go to the New Haven Housing Authority, and it'll come off their list.
Right.
I do think, I was under the understanding that, there would be a list that was generated within the project itself, and I think that is something that is concerning, that it's going to be coming off a list that's not generated outside, that is generated outside of the municipality's borders, right? Not within the project. So I think that needs clarification. It's a concern. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I have that concern. The other thing I will just quickly mention, and I think, again, if you have looked, and I believe it was referenced in that article, but I do think this is somewhat concerning issue. We know the state of Connecticut, or at the legislature, the last several sessions, there has been a movement to basically take away, local control. Yeah. We're seeing it in our zoning. You saw it with some proposals that came forward. They didn't get, most of them didn't get adopted, but you get pieces of it, right, were adopted. And one of the things that was being proposed in the legislature last session, and again this session, is that they would give the ability for housing authorities to operate outside of their municipal borders. And I think they made it up to a 30-mile radius. That was what was being proposed. To me, that is concerning. Once again, the towns will lose their local control, right? And I think that's something that needs to be should be aware of, and the residents should be aware of, and that was referenced in that.
Okay.
So
wonderful.
I hope I addressed your thing. I'd be more than happy to talk to you more about that. I don't recall when that was take place, but we can talk about it at any time.
Thank you.
All
But
right.
that being said, the developer is working hard to take over Parkside too. So we really need to support the Branford residents in Parkside too to stay independent from this type of takeover.
Yeah, I don't believe that Parkside 2, the developer, I have not heard that, and from all indications from the members, that does not seem like there's any interest. One of the things But Parkside does need some support and some financial support to address the conditions. There's some capital improvements that do need to take place in that building, in that project. I believe the Beacon, who is the developer and manager of Parkside, the new project, and forgive me, I forgot what they named it, but the one that replaced Parkside
Shoreline
1.
Grove.
However, I believe they were providing some services, some management services to Parkside 2. However, I think that was limited, and from the discussions I've had with some representatives from the Branford Housing Authority, I do not believe that there is a long-term commitment in any way. And I think it was also stated by the Beacon, the developer, very early on, one of the reasons they were not interested in Parkside 2 were for the fact that it sits in a floodplain, and the tax credits that they use for funding these projects do not allow them to build in a floodplain. So that was very early on. But again, more than happy to talk, and I've been, like I said, trying to get some answers myself.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
If I could just add something to that. I was at all these meetings like most of you were, and, I talked at every single one of them, so I recall them very well. There was never any talk of Section 8 vouchers for New Haven citizens. Never. You could go through all them. Maybe in the Housing Authority there was, but not to this body. With that being said, when we talked about the tax exemption, I said, the seniors wasn't a burden with the school system. You're talking 40 families. You're talking 60, 80 kids. Yeah, you say no. Whatever. That's your opinion. Now when they do Parkside 2, because that was in the plan that I read, whether it's a flood zone or not, they'll get around it somehow. So you're going to have another 100 units over there, because that piece of the property is bigger. And then I read the email to you guys that they're going to do another one on the ball field. So with all that being said, how much more do we got to pay for out-of-state people, out-of-town people? What is this going to cost? You just, and this is a tax collector illegally on that board lobbying for all this, and you guys listened to him. A couple of you didn't. Mr. Black was smart enough to realize it. Majority Leader Everson raised an eyebrow to it. And you guys just illegally couldn't be on that board, and you're listening to him. And, like I said, we're taking it where with this, and all these houses get built. We're paying the bill. For what? I could see if our town was running in tip-top shape. It's not. It's a mess. And that's another issue I'm going to talk about. But I have more than Parkside to talk about. But we fumbled big time here. I gave you that on a silver platinum platter, diamond studded for the win, and you guys voted for it. And one question I'd like to ask through you, Madam Moderator, to Representative Ingraham, is why the flip-flop? You guys voted down the Melrose access. You went to every single planning and zoning meeting, spoke against it. And when it came in front of you, you were all for it. Why the flip-flop? Yeah, you voted it down every single time.
Sir, I get recognized by the moderator, not you.
Okay. So that's a cop-out of you don't want to answer the question.
No,
Madam Moderator, through you to Representative Ingraham, why the flip-flop on the vote?
Do you wish to reply?
Yeah, well, I'll reply. I had a comment up here with the CEO.
Okay, sorry.
I'll answer that in a second. On the item that Jamie was talking about, the Senate, I think it's Senate Bill 54, don't quote me on that. I listened to part of the testimony yesterday on housing authorities being able to move. The big issue was the 30-mile circle just coming in, and they would have almost as a right to come in. The negotiations in that law is they're moving to have the town legislature approve. So before they can come in and build, it would be the town legislature. So we may have something that comes before us. On past items and voting, I protected the town. That's what I do every day. Protect the town. Do we have people with opinions that are loud and say that? They do. They come to meetings and they want to demand an answer. I protected the town. There's your answer.
From what? For what? What'd you protect the town from?
Representative Black.
Thank you. Just through you, Madam Moderator, to Mr. Petrowski, just, as, one of my favorite lines, recollections may vary from Queen Elizabeth, but, I do remember quite specifically, probably in one of the Admin Services Committee, the discussion of the Section 8 vouchers being allocated from the New Haven Housing Authority to this project. There was discussion about that. One of the responses from Attorney Singh at that time was, Lamar Singh, was that, well, not everybody on their housing list is from New Haven, and it's open to Branford people as well.
New Haven County.
In New Haven County, okay. But, it wasn't limited to Branford. As the first selectman says, that the financing for this was federal low-income tax credit financing, which prohibits us from limiting it to Branford residents. I was many years ago involved with the Branford Interfaith Housing Corporation, and that was done solely with state funding, which was available at that time but wasn't this time, and we did always have a Branford preference there, but that was state funding, whereas this is federal funding. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Okay.
So
Yes, Representative Brooks.
I'm going to do some of my own homework, but I ask that the first selectman, on your concerns, your specific concerns that you brought up, I'm not going to say them verbatim because I don't 100% remember them verbatim, but can you keep us informed on those, especially the movement of, outside of the boundaries that you talked about? I just ask that you update us on that as you find out information. Thank you.
I have some other things besides that
Yes,
that I wanted to actually, a couple questions, some statements, and then we're going to take a little tour of the 5th District. Number one, about public referendum. If somebody wanted to bring an agenda item here, is there a possibility of that agenda item going to a public referendum? And if there is, what would be the process in that?
I'm not, please clarify that question.
Public referendum, when the taxpayers vote for something like North Haven, Connecticut has. So if me or somebody wanted to bring an item here that on certain things, instead of the RTM voting, the taxpayers vote on it.
I believe the town charter requires 15%, a signature petition by 15% of the town's registered voters is what it would take to set off a referendum. You would start by coming to the RTM. You could send a request for something to be heard to your representative. And if it goes here, and then if it's not to your liking, you are entitled to raise a petition, which requires 15% of the registered voters of the town to sign in favor of a referendum on that issue.
So you need about 4,000 signatures is what you're saying, give or
Something
take?
like that, yeah.
Don't you think that's a little extreme?
That's the town charter, sir.
Yeah.
Well,
and the reason why I do it is also kind of for you guys, because has been a lot of shame votes, as I like to call them, that if you don't vote for it, you get flack. Like, for instance, the ball fields that we just did, $7.5 million. It's a typical Cosgrove administration project where you spend money and there's really no gain. You took grass and turned it into turf and put some lights up. When what should have came in here with was, you hang on to that rainy day fund like you hold it hostage. You should have came in here with a $20 million project and built these kids what they need, more. If anyone hasn't noticed, all these buildings and apartments going up, obviously you're going to need more. So the day that project is finished, the problem still exists. So what I'm saying is, that would have been a good public referendum vote, because at the end of the day, you didn't solve the problem.
That would be
the
up to...
I'm not done talking yet.
Okay.
The animal shelter would have been another one, because if you voted against it, you're against the animals.
Okay. We need to move this along,
So if you have a
Excuse me,
specific...
I don't mean to be rude, but you could sit here for 20 minutes and talk about an article or rule. I'm talking about town issues. That is in your purview. So don't rush me. I got freedom of speech. I'm going to say it and I'm going to finish. Okay? Do I interrupt you when you talk about articles?
We are allowed to limit comment time. That is in
Okay,
our
I'm making a
rules.
suggestion. So I'm going to move on to the problems that are existing in the 5th District that have failed to be fixed under Republican control. Can I do that? Is that in your purview?
If you keep it brief, yes. Go
Okay,
ahead.
let's start at the brewery. It's been a problem for the residents in the surrounding area since it started. Moving up the street, up Indian Neck Avenue. Lack of crosswalks. And I will give Representative Ingraham credit. He did try on Toole Drive and Field. Still hasn't got done. The residents in the Garden Street area get sewage backed up into their houses from the plant. Moving to the VFW building, that gets rented out Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights to a traveling nightclub, which the music goes on until after 2 o'clock in the morning, and I've walked over there several times to find adults drinking and urinating in the playground that our children in the community play in. Coming back up the street, we go to the South Monterey Street underpass, which floods. Going Tabor Drive, that floods. The little inlet there that borders west of South Monterey Street and Arc Road, water's coming up to those people's homes. Now let's move over to the blighted Tabor property that we spent $20 million on that sits as a dump, a labyrinth, and a walking trail. Moving north to that, you got south to Ecology Park, how many millions of taxpayers' dollars for that to sit closed that nobody could use. Down to Bruce and Johnson's Marina, in a normal high tide with a little bit of a moon, the water's almost up to the restaurant. Going down a little bit more, you come to the entertainment district, that's a flooded mess now. Waverly Park Road, a gentleman brought it up at the selectmen's meeting, that road floods, you can't get by there. So, I mean, at what point is somebody gonna do something? I mean, we pay our taxes, we get brown water too in the 5th, can't forget that. So at what point is somebody gonna say, hey, there's a problem, not say, oh, we did a study, we're doing a study. We have been getting screwed in this district and that district for a long time, and nobody does nothing. He won't answer questions, and he wants to run for state rep. He can't take care of his own district. Come on, give me a break. So I'm just curious, at least Representative Everson got a slow down and a curb sign. That's more than what they accomplished. So I'm just curious, I mean, when is somebody gonna help the taxpayers in this town? When are we gonna get a win? I mean, it's a legitimate question, right? I mean, if these problems were going on in the 7th, you'd have the National Guard down there filling sandbags, stopping the flooding. But now where we are, just let it flood out. So when somebody dies, you're gonna have a problem because EMS can't get down there.
My suggestion would be to write these down and send them to the attention of the First Selectman and the RTM, and if there's action that can be taken, we will try to do that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Representative Hartwell.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Just in response to the gentleman's question about referendums, I'm looking here at the town charter. And in the case of an adoption of an ordinance or an RTM authorizing expenditure of any specific single purpose of $50,000 or more, or the issue of bonds by the town, you can in fact go to a referendum. You have 15 days after those actions are taken, and you need at least, 3% of the electors of each voting district, or 5% of the electors of the town at large, containing their names and addresses, blah, blah, blah. So you have 15 days after a specific thing in order to move that forward. Good luck.
Thank you, I appreciate the answer.
And each of those names would have to be verified before, they would have to be proven and verified before they would count against those totals.
And just one last thing, and this was brought up too at the selectmen's meeting, about the postage from the tax collector. 9 letters I got for a $17 tax bill. Do the math on that. You lost money. I ended up paying it, but 9 letters, 64 cents to collect $17. Now, if that's me, who knows what else everybody's getting. So I'm glad we have money to waste on postage when an email or a phone call is free. thank you for your time, and I apologize, I didn't mean to snap at you, but it's frustrating, because we come here time, not now, I'm hoping you guys are different, but in the past, you come here and you just get ignored. So, thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank
And
you very much.
congratulations to you guys on your
Thank
win. None of that was directed towards any of you.
Okay.
Motion
I'm
to adjourn?
reluctant to ask if there's any other business, but is there any other business coming to come before the RTM this evening? Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.